Conscious connected breathing. I call it CCB for short. Conscious connected breathing. Originally it was called Rebirthing, and then the name changed for a whole variety of reasons, historical reasons. And this practice comes down through the yogic domain from Babaji, through a gentleman called Leonard Orr, who has been very, very influential in the conscious breathwork world, and through him have come many, many different schools of conscious breathwork. So first of all, respect to Leonard Orr for his work. Now, conscious connected breathing and related styles, which includes holotropic breathwork of Stanislav Grof, and transformational breathwork and the different approaches to breathwork in this way, right? They can take you into very profound states. The states that yoga scriptures talk about, of an incredible recognition of the true thing, of the sacred order of things, the geometrical, blissful, powerful, deep construction of the universe and beyond. Blissful, conscious, powerful, incredibly aware, awake states. They can do that. And however, on the journey into that, many times, people have to go through deep traumatic processing of the complexities that happened in their adolescence, their adult life, their childhood, their birth, the time in the womb, and other developmental loci. So we have to go through that process often. Now, if you've done enough work in yoga and psychotherapy and everything else, you may not have to do that. And certainly my first experience with conscious connected breathwork, which was with my teacher Viola, was that I found an incredible state, a place inside of myself that was both inside and outside. That was kind of the whole universe and kind of beyond. It was magnificent, to say the least. Magnificent. And yet at the same time deeply grounded. Now, I'm aware that right in the beginning, before holotropic breathwork started, people used to take lysergic acid, LSD, as a way of getting into those kind of states, of recreating the birth experience and going into that place before birth. Now, psychedelos means to reveal the soul. And one of the things that psychedelics are beginning to be used medicinally, LSD, psilocybin, these kind of things are beginning to be used medicinally now because their value is being recognized in that way. They have been illegal and still are illegal in most parts of the world, so I'm not recommending their usage. And also recognizing that many indigenous groups use substances such as ayahuasca, which is rich in DMT, as a way of touching into deep states. However, the breath work can take you into that, and more, and more. So the breath work, this kind of conscious connected breathing, is very, very powerful. It's to be treated with respect. It's to be used with integrity. So the reason why we're coming to this towards the end of the work is so that we can go in with that kind of respect and integrity, and go in with a huge degree of preparation. In your own practice, I recommend doing some conscious connected breath work as part of your daily practice. And I'll talk about daily practice later. Right? But let's go deeper into the conscious connected breathing first of all. The method for conscious connected breathing is taking a full inhale and breathing in right into the upper areas of the sternum. So the whole body is breathing, the belly, the lower ribs, the chest. It's a full body inhale. And the whole time that happens, the back of the neck is relaxed, the jaw is relaxed, the mouth is relaxed. So all the relaxation we've done, the stripes, the strokes, the relaxation, comes into play now. The tongue is relaxed. So the whole in-breath. And the out-breath is just a release, a let go. And we don't complete the out-breath. So in a lot of the yogic style breathing practice we've been doing, we've been finishing the out-breath, which is also really important. It's important to have that as a preparation to practice. However, if you've entrained that really successfully, you have to now unentrain it. So that's one of the things you have to do. in the conscious connected breath work, if you go into the full out breath and sit at the end of the out breath, you will end up in a place that feels very blissful and very delightful and kind of pink and cozy and warm, but it's not going anywhere. It's what one of my teachers calls the garage. I like to call it the pink palace. It's kind of a nice place for chilling out and deep relaxed, but it's not going anywhere into the kind of places where the realization or the knowledge of how things are at that deep kind of fractal level can be. Now, coming back to psychedelics a minute, one of the evidences on psychedelics is actually what psychedelics do is break down the filters of your sensory experiences and create some synesthetic experience. So if you do it in a really good way, rather than some random kind of, a lot of people do these psychedelics in random, chaotic, casual situations. Traditionally, they would be used within a ceremonial situation where they could be used with insight, with intelligence, with intention, and so on. So if that kind of setting is used, what it can do is break down the filters on one's experience, so you get that synesthetic understanding bigger than the sense fields. The sense fields are filters. Of the millions and millions of bits of information that come in into your sense fields or could come in, the sense fields are filtering that down, so that out of those millions or trillions of bits of information, you're getting, a few 100,000 bits of information per second. So the sense fields give you a super filtered experience of what's real. So what people are doing in those intentional, what word I'm looking for, celebratory, ceremonial type settings with medical application, psychotherapeutic application of psychedelics, is attempting to deconstruct that experience. What we're doing with the conscious breath work is much, much the same, and I think beyond. It goes beyond. And what you're getting is you're doing it legally as well. So that's really good. So you can create that in your own life for yourself with conscious breath work and really get a sense of how this universe actually is. And it's amazing to have that. And I've been into that place a number of times. If you just think of how much energy it takes to create a universe, and think about it. I mean, at the moment, our tools can reach, I don't know, what is it, 100 billion light years away. And we know the universe is way bigger than that. And our astronomical kit can't reach beyond that. It's immense. Billions of galaxies. Each galaxy has billions of stars. We're sitting close to one star. It's just immense. It's enormous. And we know that. We have no idea how big it is. We have no idea actually how it really began or what will happen in, 100 million years' time. We just don't know. But it's enormous. And the amount of energy to blow out that universe is just phenomenal. And what we do when we go into this deep conscious breathwork states is we touch into that kind of energy. The amount of energy you can experience is just, I'm going to use the word again, phenomenal. So then you have to learn how to use it, how to channel it. So obviously, if we're going into that kind of state, we need to go in with preparation, with good attention, with good intention, and with good holding. So the job of a conscious breathwork practitioner or teacher in that way is to hold the space for people who are going on the journey deep into themselves, deep into the universe, and deep through any emotional, psychological difficulties they may have experienced in their life, to clear that out of the way so they can become the most powerful, most optimal, most wonderful being that they can. So that's the job of a facilitator in that way. So what we're doing is I am introducing you to conscious connected breathing. And then when we meet on retreat, then we're going to really go into the work. And I'm going to get you to do at least 12 breaths like this, 12 full practices with me. And then you've got more homework to do before you can take on that mantle being a facilitator of conscious connected breathing. So there's a process for you to go through on this, but this is an introduction. So the method, like I said, we're taking that full deep inhale, breathing into the full energy. It's an upward energy experience. The pranavayu, we talked about pranavayus, it's an upward energy experience and just a release on the exhale. We're not finishing the exhale, remember. And it's repeating that. You've got to get your rhythm steady. It'll be around about a 4 to 6 count on the inhale. And release. Just let go. When you're letting go of everything. And I mean that. The first point we go through when I guide you through this, you're going to be letting go into the floor. You're going to be letting go of muscle tension. You'll be letting go of the bones. You'll be letting go of the organs, letting them soften into the ground. As you go on, you're going to let go of your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions, your reality, your identity. It's all got to go. So you're letting go of everything on the out breath. It's a massive release. Let go. So it's super deep relaxation on the out breath. Now that takes practice, of course. So it's inhale, full inhale, super deep relaxation, letting go on the exhale. If you need to shake on it, we're going to do a brief practice of release first before we go deeper in any way. All right, we're going to do that, and I'll talk you through that relaxation. There are several phases we go through on this. One of the first phases, after about 5 to 10 minutes of breathing like this, is you hit into a space where the carbon dioxide in the blood has become really low. So there's no incentive to breathe in, and you just feel like going to sleep. It's just kind of, oh, that's really nice. I call that the place of carbon dioxide complacency. And what you have to do is find some willpower. You breathe through that place with pure willpower. You choose the inhale, you choose to breathe. And you breathe in, and you keep breathing. You keep staying with the method. Full deep inhale, release on the exhale. And again, when we do these practices personally, I will be encouraging you to stay with that process. In your own practice, you might notice how much that temptation to fall asleep is, to drift off. Okay? So stay with the practice if you can. Build that willpower in the practice. There are other levels we can go through. So one of the things that can happen is you can get a lot of physical sensation. I'm going to call it sensation rich. Some people call it pain. Discomfort, shall we say. But it can be very sensation rich. And if your body is short on calcium and magnesium, or hasn't channeled that effectively through the system because of muscle tension, residual muscle tension in the system, or if you can't relax in the practice fully, you can get muscle tension happening, and you can get tetany. Tetany is where the muscles around joints all switch on and kind of fight each other. You can get strange things going on in your hands, or anywhere else in the body, in fact. So you can get muscle tension and tetany happening. Now, when you get into that space, you've got choices. You have already learned to do a deep relaxation breath to bring your system down, to down-regulate your system. How do you do that? Well, you lengthen the out-breath. You lengthen the out-breath so successfully that you down-regulate your nervous system. So if you hit into a place in the breathing whereby the physical sensation is too much for you to handle right now, you just don't want to go there, then come into a down-regulating breath. Come into a long, slow out-breath and stay with that. Put a blanket around you, curl up, finish the practice. That's a choice. Another choice is to breathe through that sensation and to keep going. And you will get to a point whereby the sensation is no longer quite so prominent in your awareness field. It's just a thing that's happening. It's no longer a dominating experience. You're going deeper. Great. Another phase that can occur is you get a lot of emotions coming up. If you've got a lot of unprocessed emotions that you haven't been able to fully resolve in the dream state, through therapy, through whatever process you've been through in your life, then they can come up. You can have emotions from childhood, and there can be a lot of release of those emotions, cathartic release. Sometimes people wail, shout, cry, and so on. Again, with those emotions, I will be encouraging you to breathe through that process. And again, when you get into that, you have a choice to make. The choice is this too much for me? Is this something I want to do now? Because if it is deep unresolved trauma, if it is that, then it's not going away. You can come again another day and revisit it and sort it out at a different time. You don't have to do it right now. It's an opportunity, but you don't have to. So, if you don't want to, what do you do? Well, you go to a down-regulating breath. You say, it's enough for now, thank you, I'll come back another day. And you down-regulate and calm your system down. Come into that deep, soothing breath for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes. Curl up in a blanket and practice over. However, if it feels like it's the right time to get into that stuff, you breathe, you come back into the breath, continuously returning to the breath practice, and you will eventually glide through that emotional complexity into a deeper state. Other things can come up, thoughts, images, ideas. And again, the choice here is, do you go into that or do you breathe through? So you notice the continual train through this is to stay with the method of practice, the breath practice. And wherever you go with that then, from that point onwards, you stay with the breath, stay with the breath, stay with the breath. At some point in the process, your body will just take over the breathing. You don't have a choice anymore. Your body will just be doing it. And then that will guide you where you need to go with the journey. Now, in-person interactions, I do some personal interventions with people. So if somebody's falling asleep, I might tap them on the chest. There's a few interactions I do to guide people a little bit deeper into the full breath if they lose that. Oftentimes, people who do conscious connected breathing haven't done the kind of preparation work that you've done on this course. They don't know how to fully breathe. Maybe their scapulas are rolled forward. Maybe they're a bit tight somewhere because they haven't done that kind of preparation. Maybe their jaw's tight. So they have limits in terms of muscular function. If you've done the work here with this practice, you won't have the same limits. You'll have a deeper capacity to go really, really powerfully into the breath. So that's a good opportunity. So the systematic work really comes into its own then. Another thing that often happens in conscious connected breathing is people breathe through the mouth. Now that's very common. Now again, in this practice, people are often encouraged to breathe through the mouth. It's supposed to build charge. That's not my experience, but it's some people's experience. So if you need to breathe through the mouth, breathe through the mouth. However, we have spent quite a lot of time training the nose. And my experience with conscious connected breathing, for me, is that I do it through my nose all the way. No mouth breathing. It doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel right to me. And that may be just because of my training. So do what feels right to you. Do what feels true. And also listen to your system and notice the effects at the end of it. So I do nose breathing all the way through the practice. And we're going to be breathing like this for 50 minutes eventually, maybe even an hour and a half. In the standard practice of conscious connected breathing, there is no breath holding. However, given that we are breathing so powerfully, carbon dioxide will be coming off out the system. So I like to put in breath holding at the end as a way of rebalancing the blood gases at the end of the practice. So we can do some extensive breath holding to rebuild carbon dioxide levels in the tissues. I think it's extremely valuable at times to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the tissues, to flush through the tissues, to flush through the mitochondria, and then rebuild that carbon dioxide again from afresh. I think my personal experience is that helps to build mitochondrial fitness. So this is conscious connected breathing. This is a basic framework that I want to give you for the conscious connected breathing. I think I've covered all the terrain there. If you have any questions, just message me, contact me with any further clarification you need around conscious connected breathing. So the first conscious connected breath work practice we're going to do is very simple, and it's encouraging that sense of release. So we're going to be breathing in the CCB style, so it's a full deep inhale. Remember, you're relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the jaw. You're not going to tension stuff to make that happen. And on the out breath, you're just letting go. Inhale. Super full. Exhale. Elastic recall of the breath. So third breath like this. Now, I encourage nose breathing here, but if you feel like you have to go to the mouth, do that. But I do encourage nose breathing. That's 8 breaths. And the 9th breath, sound on the ninth, just come super let go, super, and shake out on the 9th breath. So every 9th breath, we're going to do 27 breaths like this, and on every 9th breath, that'd be 3 times, you're going to do a shake, release, sound. That's 1. That's 8 breaths, 9 breaths now. And into the next 9 breaths. That's 8, 9th breath. Now you notice I'm counting on my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to do 9th breath, and 9th breath is a release and shake. And carry on with that, we'll go up to 108 breaths like that. And that's a practice itself. Now at the end of those 108 breaths, we're going to take a deep in breath, out breath. Just gently hold the breath out of the body. Do the Mahaband if you remember and if you've learned how to do that, which you should have done by now. You can extend through the fingers. When you finish that, remember, release the muscles, smile, consciously inhale. Super deep inhale again. Hold the breath in the body. Drop the chin. Curl the chin in slightly. Remember, we curl. Tuck up slightly. Lift the pelvic floor. Draw in the belly a little. Hold the breath in the body. Turn the palms in on this one. Hold the breath in. And stay with that breath hold as long as it feels really good. Just even stretch it, push it. When you come out of it, you're going to release the muscles. Ground up, release, smile, relax, conscious exhale. And then take a few breaths just to regulate and center. And that's that practice over. So you've got a practice of working between 27 and 108 breaths like that. Every 9th breath is a shake, release, let go. Okay, enjoy.